Where your mind goes, your body follows. I think so many people in the fitness world are like, just do this diet, just do this protocol, take these supplements. And they forget this huge aspect of how powerful our minds are.
Hey guys, welcome and welcome back to the Digest This podcast. Today we are talking all things gut, hormonal, breast implant removal, and changing our mindset to get out of a rut with the one and only Courtney King. She also shares how shifting her mind helped her drop 25 pounds without changing her diet or altering her exercise routine. It's crazy how the mind controls the physical symptoms and ailments that we are experiencing. Our conversation was so incredible and I didn't want it to end, and I cannot wait for you all to hear this. By the end of this episode, you will feel empowered, inspired, encouraged, and hopefully a little light will be shed in your own life on perhaps what may be the issue to possibly more than just the physical. Also, in today's Bite of Knowledge, I'm sharing how IMOs can affect your gut and how they are in everything. And if you don't know what IMOs are, well, I'm about to tell you right now. Isomalto-oligosaccharide. So let's get into it. By now, hopefully a lot of my listeners and health conscious consumers already kind of know what to avoid when looking at an ingredient list. But there's one that often flies under the radar, and it could be lurking in your so-called healthy protein bar. IMO is a high maltose syrup made up of a mixture of short-chain carbohydrates. Yes, it's found naturally in some whole foods, but most packaged goods add manufactured IMOs to their products because it doesn't occur in them naturally. So that's why they add it to their product. In recent years, IMO has become the key ingredient for creating quote unquote so-called healthy, low carb, low sugar, and high fiber foods like protein bars, pastas, ice creams, and even so-called healthy drinks. It's often marketed as a sweet-tasting, zero-calorie prebiotic fiber that is supposed to have zero effect on blood sugar. Is it too good to be true? So why is IMO used in packaged food? Thankfully, consumers are becoming more well-informed and reading labels, as I previously mentioned. You guys are looking for healthy options to snack on that are low in added sugar. Note I said added. And, protein bar manufacturers are, they're catching on. And they know you want low sugar options and they want to meet your desires. So they picked up on all of that. They picked up on the need to start creating low calorie, low sugar, low carb, high fiber snacks using IMOs. All right. So it is the common choice to add to protein bars. Why? It has a sweet taste. That's first of all, number one. But it contains fewer calories per gram than natural sugar. It's believed to be a source of prebiotic fiber that doesn't add to the overall net carbohydrate value of a food, making it marketable as low carb and high fiber. This means to be the solution, I guess, to creating a healthy item that's portable, high in fiber, and still considered, quote, natural. However, a deeper dive into the research shows that IMOs might not live up to their reputation as a calorie-free, guilt-free source of dietary fiber. And though I can speak from experience, back in my 2014 days, my personal experience can only speak for myself. So let me show you other proof. Let's talk about the problems with IMO. Most sources are not natural. There's no debating that IMO occurs naturally in some foods. All right, that's a fact. However, it is not economically feasible to extract IMO from whole foods on a large scale. So most commercially available IMO syrups are manufactured. Because of their lower price points, these industrial starch-based IMO sources are what you will find in the majority of, quote, healthy low-carb snacks on the market. A 2017 study in the Journal of Insulin Resistance aimed to investigate the impact of IMO consumption on blood glucose, insulin, and breath hydrogen responses in healthy men and women. The result of the study showed that IMO consumption led to a rise of nearly 50 milligram in blood glucose. So in other words, IMO does not function purely as prebiotic fiber and has been shown to significantly spike blood glucose in some individuals. So how can IMOs cause digestive distress? Well, they are large molecules that are not fully broken down in the digestive process. This is because the human body doesn't actually produce the enzyme needed to digest them. So they can cause digestive distress in many people. This is especially true for individuals with small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, aka SIBO, as the undigested IMO molecules can cause excess fermentation by bacteria residing in the small intestine. This results in excessive amounts of gas and bloating. So, in other words, if your favorite protein or energy bar is giving you gas, you might want to investigate the label for IMOs. I want to touch on inulin for a second. So, you may have recognized inulin in your protein bar or drinks, as this is actually just another common sweetener or additive in low carb, low sugar snacks. So how does it differ from IMOs? Inulin, while also an IMO, is not the same thing. However, it does have many of the same properties and aka downsides as IMOs. There is some evidence that inulin may have the same effect of the blood sugar as IMOs because of its ability to also cause severe digestive distress in many individuals. It is definitely not an ideal additive to any healthy food item. IMOs and inulin are sometimes really tricky to spot on a food label. So I'm just going to share a little bit on how to spot fake fiber on a food label because they can sometimes be disguised under other names. So here are some terms to look out for when trying to find inulin or IMO on a food label. So fiber, note this is fiber not naturally already in an item. So basically if they say or marketing says added fiber, it's most likely a type of IMO. Okay, so you really don't want to buy something that says added fiber because if it's added, it's not naturally in that item, which of course you all know you want to eat everything natural. So if you're eating an apple, you're eating spinach, broccoli, whatever, it naturally has fiber in it. That's great. That's totally fine. It's when it's taken out of something, put into something else that's not supposed to have it, that's when it gets tricky and just can mess up a lot of different things in the digestive system. All right, so things to look for on a label. Got on a tangent here. So isomalto oligosaccharides, which is IMO, but isomalto oligosaccharides, if you see that. Prebiotic fiber, if you see that term, prebiotic fiber. Vitafiber, that's another term. Inulin, artichoke inulin, or agave inulin, any of those. Hickory root or hickory root fiber, that's another form. Corn fiber, or basically anything that says blank fiber, right? So you really try and you really want to stay away from if you're reading a label and it says blank fiber, X fiber, it obviously was added, right? So they need to list that if they added it. I'm just so passionate about sharing and educating. And what I see in the food industry now is companies are just trying to add prebiotics and fiber and all other forms of IMOs to foods that naturally don't have them. This is a huge issue. If you want to add prebiotic fiber to your diet, eat those foods in their natural forms to get them. Green bananas, onions, garlic, artichokes. Eat them at the source, right? I just can't stress enough that removing something natural and putting it into something else isn't as simple as it reads. There's many steps and a long process it goes through via extraction, formulation, processing in a plant using chemicals to achieve this extraction. So in the end, it's not natural anymore. If you found this bite of knowledge helpful, I encourage you to share it with your friends and family, share it on your social media, help spread the word, because it could be so simple as just removing this from your diet and you can feel an immediate change in your digestive tract. All right. Thanks so much for listening. Now let's get to the show. Hey guys, welcome back to the Digest This podcast. I'm your host, Bethany Ugarte, and today I have Courtney King as a guest. So it's a very special episode, as always. Courtney King is one of the top competitors in several fitness and bodybuilding competitions, such as Mr. Olympia, Arnold, and NPC USA Bodybuilding. Not only has she won multiple competitions, but she's well known on Instagram with almost 800,000 loyal fans and followers. Her boyfriend, Chris Bumstead, who won Mr. Olympia 3 times in a row, 2019, 2020, and 2021. It goes without saying that Courtney knows a thing or two about fitness, but she's here to talk about something much deeper. She's here to share what many don't know about the fitness industry and how it affects women's health, hormones, and mental state. We connected several years back, and I'm honored to call her my personal friend. Welcome, Courtney.
Hello, darling. I am so excited to be here.
Yay.
We've known each other for such a long time, and I'm so grateful to be on your podcast. I feel like you're doing so many things, and I'm really happy for you.
I know it's been a while. I mean, we connected. We met. When did we meet? Years ago.
I think 2017. We were Instagram buddies, and then I met you at a influencer LA party.
Yeah, I remember the party. Yeah, we won't name what company, but it was
I know.
It was one of those influencer parties, and we just clicked immediately.
Yeah, for sure.
It was awesome. So why don't you tell my listeners about yourself and who you are and how long have you been competing and go from there?
Yeah. So my name is Courtney King. I am a former professional bodybuilding athlete. I always say former because it feels like a different lifetime ago, but it's really impacted my life. There has been some wonderful, great things from bodybuilding that I learned, and I'm sure we'll get into it. But it also really negatively impacted my life too, my health. I went through years and years of health issues. I'm so much better now, but I still struggle. I'm 28 years old. I went back to school for holistic nutrition in 2017 because when my body started to work against me, I was like, what the hell? There has to be another way. So I started learning all about food, healing the body from the inside out, nutrition. And I still love the fitness stuff. I do not compete anymore. I was fortunate enough to win Miss Bikini Olympia in 2016. It's kind of the pinnacle of my sport, and did a few Arnold classics. And it was really fun. Got to travel around the world. But now I am really focused on sharing my message about, mind-body connection, healing the body from within, and where your mind goes, your body follows. I think so many people in the fitness world are just do this diet, just do this protocol, take these supplements, and they forget this huge aspect of how powerful our minds are. So that's kind of a little spiel about me. I feel like I could go on forever, but I never really know how to
No, we'll dig deep. Cool. When let's just go right into it.
Yeah.
But you said how it affected your body negatively. You said your body was working against you. What does that mean?
Yeah. So for instance, I started competing when I was very young. I started training in the gym in high school. So I was a 16-year-old. I did my first like national regional level competition at 16 or 17, excuse me. And then I turned professional, which like there's kind of levels to competing. And then, there's like a regional level, a national level, and then a professional level. So when I turned pro, I was 18. I was literally like, senior in high school. And then I started kind of slowly climbing the ranks. Well, actually fairly quickly in the industry, in the bodybuilding industry, competing. And I think when you're young, you're just like, your body can take a lot more shit. It can like kind of be put through the ringer a bit. You don't think about it. And then things kind of start to like catch up to you, right? So I lost my period for 7 years. I stopped competing when I was 24. So I got my period at 16. I was very late to get my period because I was always super active, doing sports. So I got my period very late. And I think I lost it like mid 17-year-old. And then I didn't get it back until I was 24. So it was like 6-7 years of not having a menstrual cycle in my prime, baby making years. Like that's really dangerous. And it wasn't because I was on birth control or anything like that. It was because my body fat was so low. I was dieting. I was doing excessive training. And that's kind of what you have to do as a professional at that level. You're just constantly like pushing. And then until one day, you can push. And my body was like, hey, I'm good. I don't really feel like working for you anymore. So then things kind of started to crumble. It started with, and I know you can relate to this, Bethany, like extreme gut issues, like so bad. I can't even begin to explain. I could talk an hour just about gut health, extreme gut issues, thyroid issues, hormonal. It was just a list of acid reflux, really intense symptoms that I dealt with for probably 3 years. I saw every doctor around the country, functional medicine doctors, top MDs at the Mayo Clinic, at Northwestern in Chicago. I feel like I did every test under the sun. It was a very...
And what did the tests come back? Did they say that you're fine? Or,
I had some like intestinal inflammation. I had endoscopy done, like camera down the throat, looking in my intestines, intestinal inflammation. My hair was falling out in chunks. And like as a I was 24 at the time, as a 24-year-old girl who just got off winning like this huge title, who was always rewarded on their appearance and how their body looked. When you compete, placings, you get better contracts, you get better opportunity. And that's just kind of how it goes. So when my body literally was like, hey, I don't feel like doing this anymore, it was hurting. And it made me totally pivot, which I'm so grateful for now. But during the time I was like, as a young, like mid-something 20-year-old girl, I was frustrated. I was very, very frustrated as why is this happening? What's going on with my body? I was confused. It always worked for me until it just stopped. So it's been a journey.
I can only imagine this is probably the typical thing that female competitors go through. I'm sure a lot of female competitors do lose their period. I'm sure the whole mindset, like competing, it's all about looks.
Yeah.
Sadly, you know what I mean? It's all about, and you are comparing to your other female competitors. The judges are basically judging you on how you look, right?
Yeah. Totally. And you know what? Like I knew what I was signing up for. I knew it was a show that I was going based off of how I looked. So like no hate on that. But yes, there is a lot of pressure that comes with that. It's like as a young girl being judged on your appearance, even though I know it's a sport and it's what I was doing, it still caused a lot of body dysmorphia. And I know women have this issue even if they are not, competitors in the fitness industry. Just being on social media, a lot of comparisons, seeing, all these other people, we get extreme, I feel like body dysmorphia, eating disorders. There are so many women who struggle gut issues. Like I can't even begin to tell you, the amount of people that are like, I'm going through this too. Oh my gosh, how do I stop? Like, doing.
And you don't know. You just see the good stuff. You just see them posting and being happy.
Yeah.
And you don't realize what, the stress and their body's going through or their mental state. Quick pause, because what would this podcast be without me sharing about the benefits of my very own digestive support plant-based protein powder by Nuzest? If you don't know, I co-created the digestive support product by Nuzest back in 2018, and it's been a top seller ever since. Why? Because I wanted to create an easy to digest protein powder without stevia or fake sweeteners, without gums, and without flavorings commonly found in other vegan protein powders. Not just found in protein powders, but also so-called gut support products. And these gums and additives can actually cause digestive upsets. With my protein powder, you'll find only clean, real, simple ingredients. And I chose to add a specific probiotic known to fight off candida and help the gut specifically. This probiotic is so strong, it does not need refrigeration. And since it doesn't need refrigeration, it can also survive your body's temperature, ensuring it survives once it gets down into your belly so it can start doing its job. You'll also find L-glutamine, which has been shown to help and heal and seal the gut. Now, this is super important because the gut lining, obviously, you don't want things leaking out. You don't want things seeping in. So L-glutamine can help restore the gut lining, resulting in an overall healthy and happy core. And we all know gut health is so important. That health just starts in the gut. My digestive support protein is glyphosate-free and contains no gluten, grains, or lectins. It's vegan, paleo, and keto-friendly, as well as suitable for those on a candida or diabetic diet. If you want to grab a tub and start your journey to a healthier and happier gut, and ultimately happier life, go to nuzest.us/digest for a discount. That's nuzest.us/digest. This offer expires soon, so take advantage while you can. What was your diet like when you were competing? Like, what were you like on a really strict diet because you had to meet like certain, goals or, whatever you want to say?
For sure. So typical, like if you were to look at like a bodybuilding diet, like on Google, it's like, it's chicken and broccoli 6 times a day.
Right.
Mine was nothing really like that. When I first started, I was very young. Bodybuilding in the sport, in the criteria I competed in, which was bikini, it just came out. So it was very fresh. So during that time, it was like the girls just needed to be as small as possible. The sport has evolved and it's become a lot more athletic, muscle. Even when I won my last big show, the Olympia, it was more of an aesthetic, muscular physique, like nice, long,
almost
lean.
like how big you try to get big muscles now? Is that what's happening?
It's not necessarily big muscles. It's just like a balanced symmetry physique that's long, lean, toned, lines, but not like muscular, like my muscles are popping out of my skin. That's not really it. But back when I started, back to your question, when I first started in this industry, there wasn't like a lot of like knowledge with women so the diets were awful. I was like the typical 2+ hours of cardio a day, eating 900 calories. You're going to laugh. I look back at some of my old diet plans, on my email from literally 10 years ago. Some of my meals were like 2.5 ounces of fish with 2 tablespoons of rice or 6 noodles.
Goodness.
I know. I was like, this is not real life. But as I grew throughout the industry, as I got older, worked with different coaches, worked with a coach who was very much on feeding the body because you are training so much. So you need to eat if you're training that hard.
Right. You need fuel.
Yeah, exactly. Food is fuel. So I totally changed my philosophy over the years in the bodybuilding industry. It's still hard. It's still like, an intensive diet. And as you get closer to shows, it changes. But yeah, at the beginning, oh my gosh, my poor little body, it was probably on like 900 calories. Yeah, for years.
Yeah. And for sure that messes with your hormones and
everything.
Just your mind. Like I'm sure people just can't think clear, or they just are, I don't know, whatever. Right.
Yeah. It's really hard. It's really hard on the body. And I feel bad for girls who are still doing that, because there is such a healthier way to optimize your physique, to feel good, but without having to starve yourself. And that's exactly what it was, back when I first started. It was very much like starvation mode. And then you're not feeding your body all those nutrients and minerals, and like then my gut health went to shit, excuse my language. And then my thyroid was affected, and like everything just gets thrown off, and I'm still to this day dealing with the repercussions of what I put my body through. My thyroid is still very sluggish, even though I eat and I fuel myself and I don't do crazy training like I used to. It's still my gut health.
It's still recovering.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you are a beautiful girl. I mean, you're a beautiful woman, I should say. I mean,
you too, honey.
I know you guys can't see Courtney, but you can look her up on Instagram. It's Courtney King.
Yes.
Right. It's just Courtney King.
Yes.
And she's just, I mean, I can't even put into words. You're just beautiful.
You. You're so sweet.
Beautiful.
You are too. Thank you, my love. I appreciate you. You're so sweet.
And I mean, no wonder you have an amazing boyfriend. I mean, you obviously attracted, someone, and his name is Chris. Now, how do you pronounce his last name?
So it's Bumstead.
Bumstead, not Bumstead.
No, I mean, whatever, girl. It's a confusing last name. So just,
okay.
But it's Bumstead, Chris. Yes, we've been together for it's going to be 4 years in November, which is crazy. But yeah, he's heavily involved in the bodybuilding industry. And it's funny because when we met, I was actually retired. I was done. And I was actually pretty sick when we met. I was actually very sick when we met. I retired in 2017 and him and I met in 2018, at the end of 2018. And that's when he was just kind of not just getting into bodybuilding, but it was before he won any like big Olympia titles. So I was with him like in the beginning, and he was with me actually after I stopped competing. So it was kind of a hard transition a little bit, because I came from this world that I was forced to retire at a very young age because of my health. So, and then I started dating someone who like, this is their world, Right. Chris does a lot of other things with like business and, whatnot, but he also is a professional bodybuilder, and it's something
let me just interrupt for those that are listening. In the intro, of course, I already said this, but he's won Mr. Olympia 3 times.
Yeah.
That's like huge.
Yeah. It's big. And I'm so proud of him. He just keeps evolving as a person, mentally, physically. And I'm so grateful to be by his side. But sometimes, it's like I left this old life of bodybuilding and this intensity. I kind of like left it to try to heal and grow. And it was when I first started dating Chris, it was actually it was a hard transition, because I'm like, okay, I just like left this life behind. I kind of had some like internal resentment for this industry that, quote unquote, not trying to be a victim, but got me sick. I was like, F this industry, da-da-da-da-da. And then I started dating someone where I'm like, I want to be supportive of their goals and dreams. And I totally have been. But, Chris, it's funny. Even now, yes, he still trains like a bodybuilder. He lifts heavy weights. He eats a lot of food, but like we implement all my little like holistic remedies. And like, I'm like, okay, we need to do this. You need to take this. Like, let's get you eating like this rather than this processed thing. So we kind of like work together as a team. And yeah, it's cool. It's really cool.
That's awesome. I mean, and do you feel like you miss the industry, being that, you're not competing and you're still like around it because of Chris?
Part of me does, because I feel like I never got to leave on my own terms. I was kind of like forced to step out and pivot, which I'm grateful for looking back now. But I also, there are times where I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I like never got sick? But like, you can't live in the past either. So
No. He's obviously supportive of you and what you're doing now. And I'm assuming he's glad that you're not where you were, you know?
Oh, totally. He just like is like, babe, I just want you to be healthy. I want you to be happy. Do whatever you want to do. I don't care if you want to go work at a coffee shop. Like, I love you.
I love that.
I know I love a good coffee, but yeah, he's super supportive. And like, I think honestly, if I wanted to compete again, he would be like, yeah, do it, like by all means. But there's zero like forcing or like wanting me to do something or be a type of person. You know, I really value my relationship with Chris because I met him at a time in my life when I was not well mentally, physically. I was still very internally sick. I wasn't this like little in shape influencer Barbie type of
You were going through
I was going through like the hard shit. I gained like 30 pounds, which nothing wrong with that at all. But like my body was really hurting. It was fighting against me. I felt super out of aligned just with my mental state, physical state, everything. And he was like so loving and accepting and like he was by my side through some of the biggest things. You know, I had my breast implant surgery. I met Chris in October and then I got my implants taken out in January. So like he was by my side through everything. And
that's awesome.
A lot of my hard battles, and I'm so grateful for him. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about your breast implants. Did we meet before you got them removed?
We
at
met
the party?
We literally met, girl, right after I had my implants removed.
And I was scheduling my removal like soon after that.
Yeah.
It was like going to be soon. So like that was a huge connection between you and I too.
Yeah.
We were just like breast implant removal buddies. Like, I don't know. But
I'm like, let's talk about the no titties. It's okay. We can get into it. Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of female competitors do have breast implants.
Yeah, they do. And I think a lot of them think you need them to like place. And I'm not going to lie. I got my implants the month before I turned 18. The month before. I was a baby. I was a child when I got my implants. I was 17. Okay. Like 17 turning 18. My birthday was literally the month later. And I felt at the time I needed it because I didn't have enough muscle and I needed to look more shapely. And by all means, I just want to put this out there. And I know you feel the same, Bethany. I am not saying if you have breast implants, they are bad. I am not saying that. I don't want anyone to be like scared, like, oh my God, da 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 da.
Yeah.
I think when I was just like at the worst of my health, I really was looking for something to fix what it was, what I was feeling. We want to reach for all of these things, right? Like I need this doctor to heal me. I need to follow this influencer's diet. I need to take these pills. I need to do this because this person did it and this person is telling me that this helped them. So I think we kind of start
you want to find the solution.
Yeah, we want to find the solution.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think it's so wonderful to be your own health advocate and fight for your health 1000%. But I think sometimes we hear a lot of like external noise and we forget to like listen to actually how we're feeling. So to rewind on the breast implants, I had all these gut issues and thyroid issues. Okay. Well, let me look at my past. I chronically dieted. I put my body through extremes. I didn't take like any breaks. I had no period. Like there is a lot of other factors as to why I am now struggling with like this insane acid reflux, couldn't keep any food down, why I looked 6 months pregnant. I was having all of these bacterial overgrowth, why my thyroid started to go haywire. Like there are so many things that I put my body through that led me to have this like
It was like a freak out,
yeah,
basically.
exactly. So do I think breast implants, by all means, I am not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I am not telling you what to do. I just, want to say that. Do I think putting anything in your body can cause your body to react? 100%. 100%. Some people, nothing. Other people, yeah, it can cause inflammation. Your body can reject it, right? Like, we've both done our research on this.
Yeah.
And I think doing your own research is really important, not just listening to everyone on social media. But when people say, Courtney, was it your breast implants that quote unquote healed you? I kind of feel like bad saying no. Like, when I got my implants taken out, I was still very sick for a whole year after that. So bad. So granted, it was a very invasive surgery. I was under for 5 hours. They're scraping, like Bethany, like they're scraping the capsule off of your ribs and it's in your lungs.
It's intense.
It's intense. It's really hard on the body. Surgery is very hard on the body. But when I got my implants out, some women wake up, they're like, oh my gosh, like my eyes are better. Like I'm a new person. I was like, holy hell. I went down. Before I got up.
Feel better. Yeah.
No, I did not. But I did have my implants, very young. I got them removed when I was 25, got them at 17, got them removed at 25. Usually girls get them at, in their mid 20s. I had them actually tested for mold and, all the things. I had them sent out to a lab. There was no mold growing in my implants or anything wrong. There was no leaks. But yeah, it was an intense experience. I would just like to say, if you have implants and you don't have any issues, I wouldn't freak out about it. I think your mind is so powerful. Mm-hmm. I think you can create a lot of issues for yourself if you're like, well, this is it. Like,
yeah, you end up going, you go down a rabbit hole for sure. And I know people that have gotten them removed and they're like, I feel so much better. My eczema went away, like X, Y, and Z. And then I know other people too, and they have them and they don't have any issues. They're fine, so it's just each person reacts differently. So like just what you said, Courtney, each person, it's an individual thing.
Yeah.
And I think the real reason too, or a good takeaway is, breast implants, make sure if you are considering getting them, make sure you're getting them for the right reasons.
Oh yeah. Great point. That's a phenomenal point. Yeah.
So, not just to, make sure you're getting them for yourself, not because you want to please someone else or, et cetera.
100%.
And I know people, they've battled breast cancer, and they want them. And then that's totally valid.
Totally.
Yeah. But you were saying something about the mind. Can you share a little bit about that? Like, were you experiencing any anxiety, or was it the people around you? Was it social media? Like, what was going on in the head?
Okay. So my health journey lasted a pretty long time, right? It was like 2017 to like end of 2019, summer of 2019. So this is such a deep conversation. And I feel like a lot of people, looking back, if I heard that what I'm about to tell you, I would never, during the time in my life when I was very, very sick, I would have just brushed it off. I would just been like, ugh, whatever. Like I'm not listening to this shit. Like I need the thing to fix me. But I truly did not get better at all until I started doing a lot of internal mind work. Okay. And what I mean by that is, I'm all for like talking about your feelings and getting things out, but I suppressed a lot of shit for a very long time. Things from my childhood, things that I went through as a young woman. I think I was like 20. I had a really traumatic experience in Miami where I was taken advantage of. It was really intense, drugged, the whole thing. This is a very open podcast, so I'm just going to be so honest.
Yeah, share whatever you want to share.
There was a lot of things that kind of happened in my life that I just, past relationships, feelings of unworthiness, just not being good enough, not being able to, meet a standard. I suppressed a lot of that with my external validation when it came to my body. So it was like this thing that I was like, oh, well, like, I'm going to push all of these other like really hard, deep emotions off to the side. And I'm just going to focus on what I can control, which is my body and looking good. So when my body and looking good got taken away because my body literally had a freak out and just decided to work against me, put on 30 pounds, looked so distended, pregnant looking, hair falling out, all these things, I was like, holy shit, I don't have control of this anymore. I need to pivot. But during the time of when all of these physical things were happening, I never, ever, 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 ever thought that any of my symptoms could be related or prolonged because of my emotional state. So what I mean by that is in 2019, Chris and I, my boyfriend of almost 4 years, actually took like a 4-month break. It was at literally the start of COVID, like that March 2019, or was that 2020? No, my God, no, that was 2020. Yeah. Excuse me. That's the year I'm talking about. I feel like the years are kind of just jumbled. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't even know what year it is. Yeah, it's
right.
fine.
I'm like, what's happening right now? So March 2020, Chris and I took a break. He's Canadian. I'm American. The Canadian-US border shut down. We were going through our own things. And it was pretty much me just kind of being a victim to my life. I was like, everything's wrong with me, looking for him to make me feel good because I had so much suppressed shit of like unworthiness and not feeling good about myself. So I constantly reached for someone else to make me feel good. And we all know that no one else can make you feel good besides you. It doesn't matter if you are in the most fairy tale perfect relationship. No one is in control or responsible for your own happiness besides yourself. So I didn't really understand any of that concept until we actually broke up. And it really made me take a hard look at myself in the mirror and be like, okay, you have been living with so much suppressed emotional shit. You haven't faced any of your, we throw around this word trauma, but like there was some like really traumatic things, right? Like, and we all have traumatic things. But there was a lot of things that I went through that I totally just neglected. And then throwing the health stuff on top of it, it was just like this whole like recipe for disaster. So when we broke up, I really took a look at myself in the mirror. I started going to therapy, and I actually work with someone who, she's not like a traditional therapist. She's like, I always call her like, she's more of my spiritual healer. Like she works a lot on like the mind body connection. So I started seeing her. I started meditating. All these things you hear that are kind of like, oh my God, really meditation, but like that meditating, the gyms closed down then. So it made me like kind of start to go on more walks outside. Yeah. I would listen to a lot of audiobooks and
nature.
Nature and self-help books. And I was just going on walks and like getting off social media. I didn't listen to any news. I saw some things, on Instagram because it was very like all over Instagram, but I did not turn on the news. I really had to take that time when we broke up to just like focus on like, what does Courtney need? How can I fill up my own cup again? So I started to do a lot of this work. I started to undig a lot of these old traumas, these old emotional things that I went through, my childhood, my past relationships, my, traumatic things that happened to me when I was a young girl being taken advantage of. I started to really face it head on. And I started to pull those old wounds to the surface so I could heal them, so I could work through them, so I could get better. And I'm not kidding you when people are like, how did you heal your gut? How did you fix your bloating, Courtney? How did you lose all that weight? I didn't follow any diet. I didn't follow any protocol. Before that, I was doing like liver flushes and these detoxes and all these things. I'm like, I got to find the thing to fix me. Right. And then I was like, I'm letting go of all this shit. I'm not taking any more pills. I'm done with all these detoxes, these flushes, these doctors, these people, these tests. I'm done. I need a break. Nothing's working. So let me just try to do this other stuff. And that was the emotional stuff. That was the hard digging up old wounds and bringing them to the surface so I could heal them, so I could work through them, and so I could become better. And then this is where everyone's like, oh my gosh, like this is why. Then my weight started to literally fall off. I lost, I think, 25 pounds. My but my skin, I had so much cystic acne too at this time. My skin became clear again.
Your skin is beautiful. I mean, I'm looking at you right now. It's glowing.
No, it was, girl, I had literally like huge cystic acne on my cheeks. And I'm not saying all of this is like, just do the emotional work and then it will go away. But it's a huge component that so many people miss. You need to handle your emotional shit and fix your inner circle, who you hang out with, detox, not just, your body, but detox people from your life that don't align with you. That is what's going to propel you into healing more than anything. That number one. And then you can do the, figure out what, foods work best for you or certain supplements, or maybe your gut's still a little funky. So you do a test. Great. But like, you need to handle that emotional aspect first, in my opinion. And it's just not talked about enough. So,
I 1000% agree, Courtney. I could not agree more. I know that just not only my personal experience, but this is like statistics and studies. I mean, the mind affects so much. Like it puts you in a state of fight or flight.
Totally.
And you can be in it and not go out of it for months, right? And when you're in a state of fight or flight, you can't digest food.
Exactly.
If anyone has been, let's just say, for example, in a heated argument with someone, and then, you eat something and then you have like your stomach is like upset, or you feel like your food is like kind of up, in your stomach, and there's like a lump. I mean, that is completely because your mind is like in that fight or flight mode,
Exactly. We're not in our parasympathetic state, and like, yes, the mind, 100%, like what you said, even like scrolling social media while you're eating, it's so like, you're not even like present. You're just so distracted from the outside world. And we just tend to do that, I think, as humans. Like I take full responsibility. I still have my moments of where I get like sucked in on social media and certain things. And I'm just like, I lose myself. And I can tell when I don't feel balanced, when I don't feel aligned. It's like I'm spending time with people that maybe don't fill me up. I'm spending way too much time on social media. Like now my gut's acting funky. Oh my gosh, I just had a really big fight with my boyfriend. Now I can't eat. Like now I'm like bloated. Like we totally forget that emotional aspect. And it's so key.
It's so important. And then for some people too, I know social media can relax someone, but I mean, I think like at the same time, we don't know that we are consuming things that we don't know we're consuming. And social media can be a great tool. I'm on it, obviously, but it also depends on who you're following, what you are consuming. If you're consuming good things, and it could be helpful and beneficial, great. If you know, hey, like this person, I can't stand to follow them anymore, unfollow. Like clean out who you're following. Why are you following thousands, hundreds of people? Like, scale it down.
I love that. I love that tip you just said, because like we really need to, it's social media can be great. Yes. Like I met you on social media. I love you. Like you can connect with amazing people, and you can also like follow really authentic people like yourself who share really vulnerable things, who are open, who are honest. But if you're just following all of these like pages that are like, this highlight reel that we hear all the time now, which most of it is, even some of my shit, I'm like, okay, I posted like all these happy photos, but in between that, there was like some fights and some days I felt like shit. And like, I'm like, whoops, I gotta like reel back into reality. I think it's great to like spread the message. And I love your page because I think I actually found you on Instagram because you were sharing all about your gut health, because you were so big into like gut health and healing your gut. So
and then that's when you were having your gut issues.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, she's awesome. She shares all this real stuff. And I love that. I love that about social media. But the just following all the like, pretty faces and perfect bodies. It's like that's
the supermodels and the movies. I mean, even the movie stars. I mean, why are you following so-and-so when, I mean, I turn on the news and there they are again. Like I can catch up with them. I don't need to follow their social.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I just, it's beautiful, but it's also monitor it. Follow what feels good to you, and the things that don't, and don't feel bad for it. Unfollow, unsubscribe, goodbye. Like Same with people in my life. I don't know if it's because I've gotten older, but I used to be such a people pleaser. I wanted everyone to like me. I was like so nice, and like I'm still a nice person to my core. Like I have a good heart. I know I do. I know who I am.
You do.
But,
You do.
Oh, thank you. But like I really wanted I needed everyone's approval. And now I'm like, I'm going to be 29. I'm in my late 20s. I'm like, I really don't give a shit anymore. If you don't like me, that's okay. That's probably a reflection of something you're going through, or maybe you just don't like me, and that's totally fine. I don't need to be friends with everyone. I don't need to like be I don't need everyone to think my life is just so wonderful. I don't need constant approval. I don't really care anymore. And I've taken big breaks from social media because that going back to your anxiety, I think that played a big role into my anxiety. Was like, before I was like known as like fitness Courtney, and then like competing Courtney. And then after that was gone, it's like, who am I outside of this? Like,
that part of your life was gone. So now what?
Yeah. And it's like that old me had to die. It had to like, I still love fitness, but that I didn't want to be defined by that anymore, and sometimes parts of you have to die so you can grow into something new and evolve and change. Like growth is beautiful. Change is beautiful. Like it's amazing. And I think you don't need to be attached to something if it doesn't feel good for you anymore, even if it's something like career wise, like if you just don't really like it that much, or you don't like whatever, like,
yeah,
don't be
changes.
scared to
We're
pivot.
always changing.
Yeah.
We're always changing. We're never staying the same.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing to continue to evolve, because you may be missing out on something better if you don't change.
Exactly. Yeah. It's huge. It's important in life.
Totally. Well, okay. So would you say that your mind and, the mental aspect was really the key part of healing?
When I look back and I'm like, okay, I did all these things. I did every single diet you could imagine, like AIP, keto, paleo, carnivore, like, lectin free, grain free. I'm like, I don't even know at this point. Vegan, raw vegan, only bone broth. Like, holy shit. I'm like, I did every diet. I saw so many doctors. No one could help me. I was very helpless, and I was just searching and wanting an answer and wanting to feel good. And like, I just wanted that. And when I really took responsibility for my life and my health, and like, okay, do I think doctors are the most wonderful, phenomenal people? Yes. Like we need them. They are so important. And I'm not knocking any type of medical doctor. I work with one of the best doctors right now. She's in New York. She's amazing. Love her. But I don't think, if as far as healing goes on like a really deep level, not just like a surface level, like, oh, you have some bacteria, but like a really deep level of healing. If you are suffering from things that you just don't even want to, like, you don't even want to go there, you need to go there to heal. And I would say that is my number one thing that led me to where I'm at now, was flipping that mirror, not on like someone else, like, come help me, come save me, but flipping that mirror back on myself and looking at myself in the mirror and being like, you need to give yourself what you need. And that is that like deep love that I was neglecting for such a long time, and just covering it up with so much superficial things on wanting to feel good. And I just, when I really like went deep in my heart and my soul and like brought a lot of things up to the surface, like I said, that is when everything changed for me. And it is so hard for people to understand that, like, how can that be it? But like, it really is so powerful.
No, when your mind is a key aspect of health. And I 100% believe that all of your bodily symptoms were real. As speaking from experience, like bodily symptoms are real.
Yes.
You're having gut issues, that's real. You're having eczema, that's real, obviously. But that could have stemmed from some mental stuff happening, anxiety, whatever is going on that you need to deal with first. And your body's not going to heal until you first deal with the mental aspect. And once you do, then you can focus on healing, because your body is in a state and ready to heal.
Exactly. That last point that you just said, in a state, like in that parasympathetic, calm, relaxed state, your body does not want to heal if it feels like it's fight or flight and tense and stress, and your nervous system is like so jacked up and you're waking up with heart palpitations, like full of anxiety. Your body doesn't want to heal in a state like that. It wants to protect. So it's like, I'm going to be tense and tight, and I don't want to, put my energy towards healing my gut or healing this or that, because it's just trying to protect you. You can't. There's a quote I love, and it's by Dr. Will Cole, a good friend of mine. He's amazing. And he says, you can't heal a body you hate. And I think at times too, when we're bloated or our hair's falling out or we're full of acne or something physically is happening, I remember, I'm not going to be vain. I looked in the mirror. I was like, I hate myself. I hate how I look. I hate how I feel. And it was because of these really intense physical symptoms. It was very, coming from a very vain industry of all like, look at me, my body, to just like, oh my God, all this shit is going on now. I couldn't even stand to look at myself in the mirror. I was hurting. I felt inflamed. I gained all this weight. My belly was so big and distended. I had acne everywhere. My hair was literally falling out in chunks. I felt tired all day, fatigued, these crazy like anxiety, panic attacks. And I hated that. But when in 2020, when I like really, instead of hating all of the things that I was dealing with and being frustrated, I was like, let me give myself some love, some compassion. You've been through some shit. And like, now it's time to give yourself the love you've always needed so your body can heal. You can't heal in this hateful, high anxiety, high stress state. You cannot. And I do think a huge reason that I stayed very stuck is because when I got sick in 2017, I was in a very toxic relationship for like the rest of 2017 to August 2018. So I was with this guy that I dated, and it was very toxic. It was very like superficial based. There was no deep connection. And I felt like when I was sick, I was looked at differently by him, which caused a lot of stress in me. And a lot of pain. So I think I would have maybe sped up my healing process a little faster if I didn't stay in that environment. But it's a live and learn. It was a great teacher in my life, and I'm grateful for that. No regrets. But I think changing your perspective on how you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself, not hating yourself for going through these issues, but just looking at it being like, okay, hey, my body needs a little love right now. How can I support
grace.
it? Yeah. Yes. Giving yourself grace and compassion and being like, I'm so hard on myself. And I think we live also in this entrepreneurial like world that's like, go, 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 do better, be better, create more. You need to have a business to be someone. You need to do this. You need to launch this. And like, that is so great. Like, we are in this world of like powerful, women and men and like goals, like you can just tackle anything and do anything. I think it's so wonderful, but it's also okay to like maybe not do that. Maybe you want to scale back, or like, I saw your post like today, you're like at the beach and you're like just like enjoying the moment. Like, get back to enjoying the moments.
Totally. We're constantly like trying to work harder and smarter so that we can work harder and smarter. It was a quote, I can't remember where, but it's so true. It's like, why do we continue to try harder to continue to try and make it bigger so that we can make it bigger? Like, when do you get to just relax and just enjoy life? Because you're going to look back one day and you're going to be like, wow, like I wish I would have like sat down at the dinner table with my family.
Yeah.
Or, just little things like that.
Totally. So just back to like getting back to the basics, loving yourself, loving your body, even if it's sick, even if it's hurting, like it's okay. Like this will not be the end all be all. You will get through this. Having faith, having that like underlying faith that it is going to be okay. And when you're in the shit and when you're feeling so awful or you're going through something really hard, it's really difficult to like have faith and believe. And like you hear all this like, whoa, like, you know, just have faith. It's okay. It won't be forever. And like, okay, that's kind of annoying. But like when you actually like do it, when I actually gave myself love and grace and some compassion and like, you know what, like this is where I'm at. It's okay. Let's just take it day by day. Let's not think about it. Let's not overthink about this. Let's just like be. It will change.
I love it. Courtney, and what would be the one advice you could give to someone who's maybe currently going through what you previously went through?
Oh gosh, that's such a great question. One piece of advice.
Like if you could say, hey, go do therapy or go, you know, break out of, you know, social media, or like, what would you say?
I want it to be like tangible advice because I think like, you know, having something that you can do is like important. But to be honest, like the biggest thing that helped me was just getting back to the basics of my life, of removing a lot of things, just being like more gentle with myself, not living in extremes or like wanting to be more or do more, being okay with where I was at and really just being in that. That is what really creates true change. I would say if you're truly struggling physically, that you need to probably work with someone. Don't believe everything you see on social media or like what every influencer or someone is promoting or doing. I think you need to just like get back to listening to yourself. Get back to like listening to like yourself. We forget how to listen to ourselves because there's so much external noise, and we need to like bring that back. Like, hey, what feels good for me? Does this food feel good for me? Does this workout program feel good for me? Does this person feel good for me? Like not just following the crowd or following the trend. That would be it. Yeah. Getting back to like trusting yourself, back to the basics and trusting yourself. We all know. We just gotta
back to the basics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And removing expectations. It sounds like that's exactly what you did.
Totally. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's huge. It's huge.
So what are you doing now, and where can people find you? Because of course everyone's going to want to follow you too.
Oh no, you're sweet. So right now, you know, I had to give myself some time for some things that I've been working on, being present in my life, you know, being actually present in my life, with where I'm at and not always focusing on the next thing or like my past, but actually being like right here, right now. There obviously are goals and things I'm working towards that I have not yet launched that are in the works, which I'm really excited for because it's like, it's like a big passion of mine. There's a quote I love and it says, your passion plus serving others equals your purpose. So I love to help people. You know, I do. I love to help people also who are going through shit that I've been through. And I think that's like my true calling in life, because before my life was about me and like me. And it wasn't fulfilling in a true, genuine sense. It was just like a me show. It was no one else besides me. But like when I think you can serve others, it's really powerful. And it brings me a lot of happiness. So that is what I'm working on, something to serve others, help others that have been going through similar things, and sharing more on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel that I'm not too active on, but I'm trying to be better. And it's just Courtney King. And then you can find me on Instagram at Courtney King, Courtney King, but it's with 2 I's, Kiing. So yeah, that's that.
Got it. Well, thank you so much, Courtney, for being on the show. I know just by doing that, you are helping countless people. I know. So continue to do what you're doing, continue to share and inspire those women. You've definitely inspired me.
Oh, I love you.
So thanks again for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. You are such a joyful, loving person, and I always love chatting with you. So thank you.
If you or anyone you know has been a victim of sexual abuse or are looking for help, go to RAINN.org. That's RAINN.org. Thanks for listening to this episode of Digest This. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review in your podcast app to let us know. If you're ever wondering how you can support me and this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family is the best way. This is a Resonant Media production produced by Drake Peterson and edited by Chris McCone. To email the show, message us at digestthispod@gmail.com. See you next time. The content of this show is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for individual medical and mental health advice and does not constitute a provider-patient relationship. As always, talk to your doctor or health team first.